The you don't have again. I don't think we have any very large issues to discuss, and I don't. I had in the agenda we were going to talk about the Leon meetup, but it looks like Olivier is not going to be able to make it, so we can probably forego that for now.
Can I suggest a topic in its place? Because I meant to say this yesterday, but forget. The original target date for the 1.0.1 release for the curriculum is this Friday. And there's only a few things we need to do there. I can quickly cover what I see in the project plan now that I'm back home.
The 1.0.1 release?
Mm-hmm. 1.0.1, yeah. It's mostly just fixing some stuff.
Okay, we can discuss. Is that it? Is that all you wanted to say about it?
No, yeah, I want to get in the habit of like I don't know, maybe we need like a calendar or something like that, because like currently the only place the date is published is in the forum. So unless you see that date and then mark it accordingly yourself, like it's gonna kind of go unnoticed. So maybe we need to create a calendar that people can subscribe to.
I believe that there is a placeholder for that on the upcoming revised website, actually, on the community page.
Oh, sweet. That's good news.
Oh, that reminds me. We should have I don't know if it's on the website or in the forums, but you did a really great job, Matt, of creating and then posting internal to Juniper Slack a giant list of blog posts and other like different SoundClouds and other things that we've done for NRE Labs. And I don't know if that should be on the website or on the forum, but we should definitely have a place where people can go and look at those things.
Yeah, I was thinking along those same lines. As I say, I have to go spend today working on content for that, so I'll figure out where to feed that in.
Cool, I'm all for it. Maybe we could even build some like automation into our Stackstorm system, where like if we favorite something from the NRE Labs Twitter account, then it automatically gets added to that list. I've actually done that before. I used to do that with favorites on what was it, Pocket, I think. I would favorite something on Pocket, and then it would automatically tweet it out. There's all kinds of stuff you can do.
Yeah, so for those who don't know what I'm talking about here, and by the way, Varsha looks like a new name. You maybe want to introduce yourself? Varsha? You're on mute if you're trying to talk. Okay, so anyway, we have a project underway to revamp the front end purely from a user experience navigation standpoint. There will be also a bit of work done under the hood just for maintainability and that sort of thing. But we're looking to integrate the various forums and make the GitHub more easily accessible, make all of our various other sites all much more accessible from the main homepage, essentially. So rather than knowing that you need to go here for this and here for that and here for the other thing, you can go to one place and find everything. So that's what we've got underway. Hi, Varsha. I saw you came off mute momentarily. Do you want to introduce yourself? Well, when you want to, let us know. All right, Derek.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on. Okay. So Lisa, to groom content and find place for a list of external blogs, interviews, podcasts about NRE Labs, and the curriculum is this Friday. Okay. Okay. Other things. We have a lot of old issues and some old PRs that I'm gonna start cleaning out, and I think there is a way to auto close stuff after a certain amount of time. Um, I'm I'm actually pretty generous about that. I would say 60 days, and if anyone has an opinion on that.
Are you thinking like across the board, like 60 days of inactivity for anything?
Yeah, I think so. Um, if it's otherwise, it shouldn't. Otherwise, it should be maybe like a proposal or a project. Um, if it's like, so, oh, I'm working on something very large, right?
That's
And
the one
here's
that was actually just the one thing I was thinking about was like there's a lot of issues that are just there for like planning purposes and they're not going to be closed in 60 days. Like they're going to be there for a while. Maybe we should have another mechanism for that. Or
we should. I think we should. I think we should move that to projects or the wiki or the proposals repo. Like all of those seem better than just having, because look, how many places are we going to have planning related things
well,
documented?
yeah, I mean that like let me find an example because there's it's I don't really necessarily mean planning. That should be in proposals. Um, but in the plan, um, there is like take a look at this is a good example. This is a good example. Boop. So that basically that's like the detailed. I mean, that's not really like a design or anything like that, but it's just a bunch of links that I think are useful to whoever wants to implement this particular initiative. It's not a plan; it's a specific task that needs done that you can open a PR against, um, which is really what an issue is. Like that's literally the purpose of an issue. So the plan itself will be elsewhere. It will be referred. This issue will be referred to in the plan, which is in a markdown file in the proposals repo. But in this particular case, like this like long-standing feature um, is is going to be here for a while. I mean, feature requests in general, which are useful as GitHub issues, will be open for a while. Now, but like requests for help, things like that obviously should get timed out. Like those things should have a shelf life. But I'm thinking like this is where people are going to be proposing like feature requests. So I think we should
Yeah,
continue the,
uh,
continue to make better use of the labels, and then if we could build whatever GitHub bot we use, I'm sure has this capability. We would then select a set of labels that would perform that aging out. And if it's like if it's not explicitly assigned one, obviously, or if it's assigned one that is like help needed or bug or anything like that, um, then yeah, I'm fine with 60 days. That's fine. I'm just thinking that there's some cases where timing out automatically isn't necessarily appropriate.
why wouldn't this be a project?
Why wouldn't what be a project?
This example you gave. This is not a feature request, dude. This is significant refactoring.
I mean, it's not a. I wouldn't consider this an easy thing to do, but it is a specific task. It can be done and will be done in a single PR.
Okay. Um, so that'll be the takeaway, I suppose. Is there? That'll be the takeaway. Matt suggests some kind of GitHub bot that can auto close some tickets, but not others based on labels. Okay. I'll investigate that. Derek to investigate. It takes care of that. Speaking of that, but aside from that, I am trying to clear out there were a whole bunch of issues that I closed with obtuse messages, but they weren't really. There were issues that were no longer relevant, or literally one was an issue for an idea Matt had back in December that's long since we're not going to do that now. Better things have happened or whatever. And I'd like to do the same. I did that for the self-medicate project, and I'd like to do that the same thing for the curriculum, because the curriculum has 54 open issues, and they date all the way back to August 5th. Nope, even before that. They date, yeah,
I was gonna
August
say
5th.
August 5th is pretty good.
Yeah. So we should clear these out. I don't, we're not gonna do that at this exact moment, but we should clear these out. So this is what I propose, and I'll put the same thing in the notes, and I'll actually put a forum post explaining that what we're doing here. I'm not going to do that right now because some of these are for lessons, and then some of these are for. Oh yeah, there's a Batfish lesson. Batfish reached out to me, by the way, to come on our show.
Yeah, they like, I think we've like gotten back in touch with them maybe 3 or 4 times at this point. I saw them at Interop, and I was like, I even showed them some of like, how you put lessons together and whatnot. And what's his face, Samir, I think is his name. He's like, oh yeah, we're let's do this, man. Like, he was so pumped, and then like I never heard from it. It was funny. It's funny.
Yep. Some of these are just feedback from October on the lessons that are in there. Oh man, I gotta fix that. That SIP phone lesson is broken. But and then some of these are like, you can't. There was Mac issues where the script wasn't working, but those are fixed. Like I just want to close these out. We're either going to do them or we're not, right? And we have, so we should probably close these out, or maybe not actually put lesson idea. Most of these are lesson ideas. We should I think we shouldn't have the lesson ideas in here because they're spread out. There's like ideas for there's several with ideas for the Python lesson, and they're spread out.
Well, so definitely if there are duplicates, those should be removed. But where, if not here, do you feel like lesson ideas should be published?
Well, rather than have, if there's multiple ideas for the Python lesson that are not the same, okay, I think it would be easier to I have a wiki or someplace else where we could have notes about those lessons and ideas about what we want to do with those lessons collected into one spot. Because it's, if you, let's say that you're the person who made one of these lessons and this list gets up to be 300 open issues, and you just want to find all the things, any feedback, any bugs, any ideas for the lessons. I think it would make more sense to have those collected in somehow together by lesson, rather than have them, many open issues.
I like the issues. I'm not opposed, as a community member, I'm not opposed to having them as GitHub issues. The first place I would look as a community member. If we're driving people to the community.nre site, that would be another good place for them. And maybe even have under that community site a place for curriculum proposals.
In kind of more of a sort of Word format. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said you're thinking of having a place for collecting curriculum proposals in more of kind of a reform word doc kind of format, or? I mean, I like the wiki idea.
So here's where I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking on this. I mean, to me, the curriculum is a piece of software, right? It just is. In that respect, it's really not any different from the other projects. The intention and the way that software is manifested, obviously, is very different. But it's a project. It's a software project as part of the overall NRA Labs initiative. So, like for me, like if I'm somebody that's coming in cold, and I don't know about the community side, I don't know about anything. All I know is there's this open source project out there, and here's where the stuff is published. My instincts are going to tell me, well, if I want to find out what's wrong with stuff and what are the current things that people are providing feedback on, as well as feature requests, which that's what new lesson ideas are. They're feature requests. I'm going to be going to GitHub issues first. Now, like 100%.
I second that.
100%, we should have a mechanism to bring other ideas that are not there into the fold. We should have them in one place. I'm just saying that one place should be GitHub issues because it's the most intuitive. So, like for instance, one of the things that we did recently with the publishing the release activities is, we have now a mechanism for people to provide ideas for what should be in a release. And if there are things that somebody identifies as part of that process, like Toad, for instance, the last in the release the release kickoff I did 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, you commented on some of the Cumulus stuff that needed to get done. Now there were issues for that already, but imagine if somebody comes in and says, like, I really think we should think about doing X, and it's like a totally new idea. The action there would be cool. Can you, or I will on your behalf, create a GitHub issue and then label it accordingly. That way everything's, again, sort of as you say, in one place, because that is useful. But it's tough for me to wrap my head around having that one place be something other than GitHub issues. It seems to be the most intuitive to me.
Well, I guess maybe to argue against having everything in one place, I guess I like the idea of people who are not yet at a point where they're going to be writing code and may nonetheless have ideas for lessons, not necessarily in terms of exactly how to put them together. Mm-hmm. But think about it particularly from a user standpoint. Someone who doesn't particularly know how to code and is just kind of trying to learn stuff, and where they can provide feedback of, I'd really like a lesson to cover this or more of this, or I'm trying to learn how to do this, almost kind of more of a suggestion box.
So this actually might have a lot more to do than with one of the changes that I have on the plan for Antidote Web, which was a feedback box. So my original intent for that was basically, there's something wrong, I need to tell you about it. But we totally could augment that to be not just providing feedback on what I see, but also providing feedback on what I don't see. Like right there in the site, I wish you covered X. And then, we would, I don't know, publish that to some like queue that we could, moderate and make sure people are publishing crap to it. And then somehow have a mechanism for converting those to GitHub issues. I mean, that can be automated. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely cool with that. In terms of like making it so that people who don't even know anything about, how things are built, they're just going to the site and they see something is missing. So right. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Where's that issue? It's got to be an Internet Web. Let me see if I can augment it with that, because that's kind of like feedback. It's just more. User feedback box, issue 76. Oh, and we already added to this because we were also trying to figure out. We already have this. Here, check this out. And I believe this came from you, Lisa. I opened the issue, but I'm pretty sure that this wording, the intention behind this just sounds like you. Once they've completed a lesson, pop up a quiz or send an email for follow-up to provide feedback for NRE Labs and ask how it has helped them. In the meantime, ask for other lesson ideas. Also check this box if we can make your comment public.
Yeah, it wasn't me, but.
All right. Should also provide a feedback button on the lesson so they can provide this anytime, not just at the end. So yeah, I mean that kind of encapsulates what we're talking about, right? Not just feedback of the lesson that they're looking at, but also just kind of open-ended. What do you think about stuff? Let us know.
Well, in the sense of more specifically to curriculum, what do I need to learn next?
Right.
I would love it if I could do this.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. So I think the only thing we'll have to figure out there is how to link the two. So I got to figure out, like, building the dialogue box in the front end is easy enough. I think the challenging part, or not challenging, but just the part we got to figure out is how to link that with some sort of back end system so that we don't just publish GitHub issues the moment somebody hits suspend. We're gonna have to have it in some sort of queue that can be moderated. And then once we approve a certain comment or something like that, or format it differently, it'll go into an issue. So I'll put some thought into that.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Issues it is. The next thing on the agenda is using Vagrant to start self-medicate instead of a bash script. This is something you just opened up, Matt. This is something that you want to do. I mean, I guess I'm okay with that, but I also, it's another piece of software that people have to install. In addition to Minikube.
Wait, you talking about where I said remove non-vagrant self-medicate?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the self-medicate script would still exist. I'm not suggesting that we replace that with something else.
But what is the phrase? What are you removing?
So the way that we did the current Vagrant setup, which is courtesy of Mr. Steven, we did that was there are actually two self-medicate scripts in the repo right now. There's the primary one that hasn't changed, and then there's the self-medicate-vagrant.sh, which is what's called by the Vagrant file. So the thing I'm suggesting is that we just deprecate the old one. The new one is basically identical with some basic modifications to effectively run without a VM, without a Minikube VM. Because once you're in Vagrant, you don't need a VM. You're in a VM, so you just run bare metal. And then, of course, if you're running Linux natively like I am, you don't need the Vagrant file either. You just run self-medicate-vagrant.sh and it runs bare metal. So the intention was to have the Vagrant set up, both the self-medicate-vagrant.sh script with the Vagrant file, and have those basically be the parallel, have those be there in parallel without interfering with the current setup. That way people can just continue to use the old way of doing things, which spins up the whatever Core OS VM. But frankly, the Vagrant stuff has worked pretty much from day one. So I think it's time to start really talking about just killing off the old and going with the new as the main solution. So for most people, it'll be Vagrant up, and then they'll interact with self-medicate within that VM, which they don't even need to do that first off because it starts self-medicate automatically on first boot.
I would like to point out a issue with running self-med or Minikube bare metal. It's not recommended by Minikube, as the containers would have access to the host machine. And so it's a security risk that we may want to warn users before they try to run locally.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a good idea. I ran it last night, but I don't remember if I saw. Let me scroll up in my terminal. Okay, yeah, so we don't squash that currently. If all I did was I just ran self-medicate-vagrant.sh space start, and it just generates all of the the self-medicate stuff, or the Minikube output, which includes
Yes.
a warning that says the Nun driver provides limited isolation and may reduce system security and reliability. For more information, see, and then it points to a GitHub issue or a Markdown file.
Okay, so maybe that's fine.
We can make it
I
like
know if we want
0.60 font.
to.
I'm just kidding.
And there is the Vagrant VM does, it's not bare metal either, so you don't have the enhancement of using like some of our Juniper devices won't benefit from having the what's it called? I'm losing the name. Direct access to the host CPU. I may be wrong in saying that, but I know
we can pass that
virtual
through.
bugs. So for VirtualBox, you can pass it through if you have a AMD CPU, but Intel you cannot on VirtualBox. We can make the Vagrant file support other software. I just don't have access to that other software. So that's why I haven't added support for the others yet. I know VMware has that option, but I don't have VMware. And then I believe the autocomplete is just adding a package in there, bash completion, correct?
Yeah, that's real easy. It should be a one-liner.
Yeah, I thought I left that in there, but I might not have. I was playing around with.
Let me, to be clear,
Keeping it
I didn't even check that. I assumed you did. I assumed nobody did. So it could be that it's done. Who knows? I apologize for not actually checking that out. I made that assumption.
Not a problem. No, it looks like I kept it at a bare minimum. Well, wait. Yeah, no, bash completion should be there.
And just to reiterate, the work that's done for the Vagrant file and all of the surrounding scripts to make it work in Vagrant, like that was stellar work. If you haven't looked at what Steven did, like just check it out. It worked with the exception of the one host file editing automatically thing that was actually ended up being my fault because I didn't install the plugin. So aside from the fact that I didn't do that, like it worked like perfectly the first time. So if you haven't started running self-medicate that way, it's the future. So get on it. Get on it.
Yep. I updated the docs, but they're still waiting on. I need to run, spell checker and stuff. I don't know if they're in the format that y'all like, so the PR's there.
Yeah, I see it. You're not finished with it yet?
It's written. I don't know if it's written to y'all's liking, so that's why I left it as a work in progress.
Oh, okay. Well, if you feel like we don't have there's not really any specific formatting requirements other than it has to be obviously, proper restructured text. Like that's the main thing.
Right.
It has to actually compile to Sphinx docs. But other than that, yeah, I don't have any particulars. If you feel like it's ready to go, just mark it ready for review and we'll take a peek at it. We don't have any specific you must have these sections and they must be just pretty standard restructured text. And then, all of we like, having links, just good docs practices are good, like good, internal references where appropriate,
Yes.
nicely chunked, no like 50 line, paragraphs, that kind of stuff. Just kind of, I haven't looked at every line, but just briefly looking at your change, I'm sure this is close to, if not right on target.
Okay. And which repository is that again?
That's Antidote. So Antidote's sort of like the umbrella repo,
Yeah.
but we still have docs in there. So
Got it. Pull request. I'll change that from work in progress to all right. Thanks.
yep, I'll take a peek at that as soon as I can.
We can add other providers that support CPU pass-through. By the way, I don't use VirtualBox. I use KVM.
Yes. And that's not hard to do, to add other providers within that Vagrant within Vagrant. You just need to be able to. Yeah, I can't test. I tried to add support where I could with what I knew needed change between the different versions, but I can't test on those.
I can test on anything that's Linux specific if you'd like, if that helps.
Sure, that would be great.
Okay. Are there any other items open for discussion? Anything anyone want to bring up?
Can we take a quick peek at the 1.0.1 plan real quick, just so we know what's up there? You there? Hello? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah. Let me.
Yeah, sure.
That is in the. It's not in the proposal. That's in the curriculums projects.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Updated 4 days ago.
So this is the current project plan. There are a few things that are actually done. Like, for instance, verify packet pushers collection. I went back and I saw that Derek added that in a commit a while back. So this is done. We just wanted to make sure packet pushers had the lesson. The bash lesson was part of the packet pushers collection. So that's actually in PTR. I don't know if it's useful, guys, to send that link to packet pushers, or just wait until the real link is live. But I don't have any strong opinions on it. Drew didn't make it into this meeting, did he?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, it's in PTR. If you think it'll move, if you think it'll help, obviously we can send them that collection and say, like, look, your lesson's here and it'll be live soon, that kind of thing. But if that's not that useful, we can always just wait for prod to go live on 1.0.1 and it'll have the same change. I don't know what I meant here. Test other MISC fixes. I got to stop doing that without context. I believe what I mean here is just that all of the fixes that have gone in since 1.0.0, which there have been a few, so like really minor stuff, or maybe I was referring to these fixes, like these top two fixes, which are Stackstorm lesson and then the issues with the troubleshooting lesson.
Yeah. I need to probably put that in PTR for now, the lesson 21, because there's multiple breaks now. Like it doesn't, netbox doesn't load. There's issues.
Oh, you mean like remove it?
Yeah, until because it's pretty hosed up and it's just broken, so we might as well remove it for now.
I don't know. That because that would just like remove it. People might have links to it that get broken. Wouldn't it be better to? I mean, how do you know how hard it's going to be to fix it? Is it going to be like weeks of work?
I don't know. I don't know. We
Okay.
can leave it for now. If it will bring, I'll have a look at it and I'll mention it if it looks like it's going to be a pain.
Okay, because we can. I mean, like the the target date that I established was fairly arbitrary. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, I think, to just like try, like I would prefer that the lesson not get decommissioned if at all possible, and if it means moving the arbitrary date that I selected by throwing a dart on a dartboard, that's totally fine by me. But yeah, just let me know. If it's like a tremendous amount of work, or maybe like the piece of software that you put in there, the contributor like deleted the project and there's no, that kind of catastrophic shit is happening, then yeah, we can talk about that. But we've got flexibility from a time perspective, so I don't want to feel like we got to rush anything. Style checks and enforcement CI. Steven, did you say, was it you who said you wanted to take this one? Somebody said that.
Yeah, yeah, that's me. I have work got really busy this past week, so I haven't made much progress there. I have the spell checking done and working with a dictionary that's geared towards antidote with what the current lessons have. I did find quite a few spelling errors, which would be interesting when we turn that on. The spell checking, I propose, having it fail the commit, as if it's a valid word, you should be adding it to the dictionary, and if it's wrong, you should be correcting your config. And then there was the style checking, which we talked about somehow wrapping and possibly, allowing so many issues before we start. Maybe it's flag only, or maybe it's so many issues before it fails the pipeline.
Sure.
That's the harder part, which would be a more of a work in progress.
I wonder if there's a way we can limit the scope. I'm sure there is. If we could limit the scope of what's checked to all of the added lines. So like if that way people don't have to like fix the entire curriculum. The first person, like the poor soul who happens to have their PR open like right after we submit this stuff, we'll have the task of fixing everybody's crap.
Yes. So, and that I was going to fix some of the spelling issues. Once I brought them to attention, as far as there are ways I know in GitLab to say only, and I'm sure there's in Circle CI. I'm just not as familiar with Circle CI, not Circle CI, Travis CI.
Got it. Okay.
Too many different CI pipeline technologies and
yeah. That's, I learned long ago, I think it was at eBay, that one of my mentors there was talking to me about how basically that problem and how you just need everything in the repo. Don't rely on getting detailed configurations into the pipeline. Keep the pipeline really stupid and just do everything within scripts, and then just execute those scripts. So like if you want to run tests, you better have a make file or something like that just says make test, and it does all of the testing that you only have to integrate with the pipeline at that one point. Don't run a bunch of like really specific bash commands within Travis, because then it's going to have its own peculiarities. Do everything in the repo. That's
okay. Great idea.
My training, avoiding all kinds of interoperability issues that way.
Right. I'll change that, and that may be a way to limit. Maybe the pipeline can do the Git. There's a way to with Git to fetch only the changes. I have to explore other pipelines where that's being done. But yes, absolutely something we can do.
Cool. Well, let us know. And it's kind of the same thing with the troubleshooting lesson. If you feel like this can't get done within a reasonable amount of time, it's totally fine. There's really not a reason to like rush that. So, if work comes up, just give us a heads up and we'll plan accordingly. This can always get punted.
Yeah, can we punt that one and maybe to the 1.1 since it is a major change, especially the spelling
Yeah.
is more of a major change than a minor change.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, because there's really patch releases, especially we should consider just fixes, like fixing things that are broken, and that's basically it. Maybe some very minor changes like this one, adding the packet pushers collection to the bash lesson. So I think that makes sense.
Perfect. Thanks.
Cool.
That buys me more time too.
Yeah. So yeah, basically these two fixes. Derek is taking this one. I'll continue to troubleshoot the Stackstorm lesson. I think we're close to a solution, but we didn't quite get there. I got to figure out maybe if we gotta. I'm sure it has something to do with the requirements.txt stuff that Derek looked at, but maybe we just need to ratchet it down even further than we did. And then once that's done, I mean, test other mix fixes. This kind of doesn't need to be here because part of the release plan is to perform at least 7 days of testing. So don't really need this. Same thing with this. So I'll probably get rid of these, but that's fine. This was, in many ways, this was meant to just be a trial run of the release process so that we can get a quick, get in the habit of releasing the curriculum separately and quickly. So I'm not feeling a ton of pressure on doing this perfectly or trying to put as much as we can inside this change. It's really just meant to be like a trial run of the new process. I also want to make sure people understand like how the process works and how I'm thinking, moving issues from like left to right, because the intention obviously at some point very soon would be that somebody other than myself is running the release. In every open source project that I've participated in, there's been like a rotating kind of like well, on call is not the right word, and it evokes emotions that I'm not fond of. But like kind of a rotating schedule of folks, like when a new release was coming up, like a minor patch or minor version release, like 2.2, for instance, of Stackstorm, I was in charge of that, and then any patch release under that. And that way, basically, everybody understands like when who's on the hook for organizing stuff. That person's very rarely on the hook for actually doing the work. They're just more project manager kind of lead. So if you're interested in doing that, I would just say, pay close attention to the docs on the release process and then what I'm doing here, because I would love to hand this off. That would be awesome.
Okay, and I cannot, it looks like you need different permissions to move cards.
Yes, that's also something we need to figure out, because the governance docs are talking about like different roles of the project and maintainers and whatnot, and we're going to need new GitHub teams to basically match that. So that's one of the reasons that's still work in progress, is because the governance docs are still work in progress. But once that's solidified, we'll have that all hammered out.
Okay, thanks.
All right, that's it for me. I just wanted to cover that because the target date's Friday, so I don't. We'll probably not release on Friday. We'll probably mark Friday as we're done with the work. Now we begin the test phase, so the actual release will probably be a week after that.